I think it's time to start running through some of the wiring on this 1989 Corrado, which, if you've not been watching any of the other stuff, is getting a 130 PD lump. So instead of just doing the basic engine conversion, I'm pretty much fitting everything. So I've got a 6-speed box, I've got the ESP, doing the clocks, but I'm not going to be running the clocks. I'm still going to run standard Corrado clocks because I like to keep it retro. I like to keep it that retro. I like to have me marathon with me coffee. Let's keep it in the 80s and the 90s. That's when life was good. I filmed it about 6 months ago when I'd literally just put the camera on, press record and then just start working. So I've had to trawl through hours and hours of footage to get to this point. So I've took all the best little bits, so bear with me. Some of it are probably quite boring, but a lot of it will be relevant to doing an engine conversion of any sort. A lot of it is VAG related, so if any of you are planning to do anything that's coming from a later vehicle into an older V-dub, this is perfect. Some of it might be relevant to a newer V-dub. At first I had to strip as much Mark IV wiring out as possible, so instead of just taking stuff that was relevant to the engine, which it would have been easier running just the engine ECU and having that deimmobilised, that wouldn't have worked with the ESP or some of the other systems, so I still had to run clocks. And I like to make things a little bit more technical than I need to, so we'll run through that in some future videos. But before you start, make sure that you download and get hold of some wiring diagrams, because these are going to be invaluable to you, even if you can't read wiring diagrams, because the same colour wires used from here to there on 2 different modules, and it'll be really easy to just go, I'm going to connect every wire up that looks the same because they must all be the same. And this is why I'm spending a lot of time not stripping down, not just chopping the wires and hoping for the best. Hopefully you'll bear with me and watch through to the end. So grab yourself a drink, let's get it apart. That's possibly the only wire that I'm going to cut in the engine loop. It comes from the multi-plug that sits in this section, and it looks like it goes down to the AC wiring. So it's possibly an input from inside to say the AC is going on, or it could be from the engine ECU to tell the fans to come on. So there's a control module fitted there, which is likely going to get ported over. But if I keep track of that, I'll have a rough idea of where it goes. Don't like joining too many wires. I'm going to have to strip down the wiring loop, so instead of just chopping wires, I'm going to strip down the connectors. Now, I find these wiring tools really useful. Again, you can pick up a load of these tools in a box set for VAG range. You can get them for other manufacturers because the connectors are slightly different. I find these so useful. Got this grommet that was originally fitted on the left hand side on the Corrado wiring loom, slightly different size holes between the two sides. So I picked this up for the main dealer for only a couple of quid in the end, which was well worth it. So it's 46mm on one side, it's supposed to be 16mm on the inner side. Now instead of just chopping a load of wires, I'm going to methodically go through all the wires one by one, pulling them through the grommets, taking them from one, putting them in the other. It'd be so easy to get all confused. You'd be tracing wiring issues for ages. Spending time doing this hopefully going to save you a lot of time when it comes to starting the car. Because I'm doing an entire loom, not just the engine, I've got triple the amount of wires that I've got to get right. I've managed to get rid of some of the wiring. The prime examples: the load sensor that's built into the alternator comes down, connects normally at the top there, top of the alternator, works its way up. Originally went in on the Mk4 in that corner, ran along the dash up to the plenum chamber box, and then ran back to the engine ECU. So if I left it on the original wiring, it would have gone back through the new grommet, down into the loom, and then back up there. So I bypassed all that, cut that out. It is only a thin wire, but again, it's one of those little things. And another one, which I'm about to do. Not only did it take its feed, that's not the one, the other end. Not only did it take its feed from fuse box, feed it up to here, it fed it in through that loom in that corner, but then a secondary wire also came from that corner, split, and then came back into the loom up until that section there, and then came in through the plenum chamber to run back to the engine ECU. This is obviously how it's been built and designed as left-hand drive opposed to right-hand drive, which this vehicle's the donor out of. So instead of making two looms, it looks like they've made one loom and then just modified another loom. So I'm going to snip it here where I've fed it through already. Good set of wire strippers. Feed that back without breaking it. Give it a twist. Get your soldering gun nice and hot. Feed the solder into the main wire, not the one that you're soldering. Because it will draw it into the one that you want connected. I would prefer to use heat shrink there, but I don't really want to put a join in this wire. The next one I'm going to join inside the engine loom is the one from the ABS controller to the engine ECU on the CAN bus. CAN bus is the data network that passes information between all the control units at a very high speed. So anything that's on the drivetrain is actually quite fast, because ESP needs to work fast, the engine needs to respond, and an auto box would also be on that system. ESP can run into the vehicle and join in at the back of the clocks, and it's on exactly the same feed as the one that comes from the engine ECU. So I'm going to join it on there because it's all part of the same network. The only thing is, you've got to make sure that you get the two sides, two colours correct, and also keep it twisted pair, and also keep the lengths to be pretty much identical, which can be quite difficult, but it is essential because it's the way that it communicates and stops interference on the data signal. Standard twisted pair practice. So there's CAN bus wiring. Get that out of the way. There's one from the ABS. Follow the loom up. Better to have just a little bit more because you don't want anything too tight. I'm going to draw it up there. I'm going with there. Get them out of the way. Good set of snips. Can do 2 wires at the same time if they're small enough. So black one to the black one, brown one to the brown one. Wrong way round, it's going to cause CAN bus system to crash, not communicate its data. So you want a really good solder on these. So a really shiny joint, a little bit on there. And feed it into the rest of the wire, not the end of the soldering gun. Keep it there, get it hot, and release. And that's going to give you a nice shiny join. A dull join is probably going to end up causing you resistance problems while it's still hot. And if you are keeping track of your wiring diagram and any changes you're making, make sure you write down where it is. In 6 months' time, when you've got a problem, you'll never remember. Now we've got that wiring pulled through. Actually look quite neat when it's finished, I think. It's a long way to go till then. Next one, we're going to mount the engine ECU just in situ there, and then I'm going to connect up all the earths. After I got the Mk4 wiring loom more or less in position, nothing really connected up, I decided to connect up the Corrado wiring just to make sure, just to go through all the function tests, make sure everything was working, even though the only thing that was missing was the engine wiring. And I got this. I've managed to plug it all back in, all the original Corrado wiring into there, left all the engine management stuff off, I haven't even got clocks. A little warning light just coming on very faintly, or coming on steady when the ignition is on. I should have at least the time in there. Gone back to basics, check ground and earth, they're all there. So I'm going to take the clocks out. This is how stupid Mark III wiring is. It had two separate earths running to the clocks. One ran to the chassis, which was right, and the other one basically connected to the engine wiring to the block. So as soon as the block was disconnected, you didn't get your clocks working. I'm sure there's a reason for it. It did actually amaze me, because I've not seen that before. I've seen a lot of stupid stuff. So upcoming videos, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing with the VR clocks which I've acquired. Hopefully it's quite trick and quite unique. It's something to be proud of. And I'm also going to be finishing off ESP, try and get that function. Even though we're locked down here at the UK at the moment, I can still do a lot of the function tests and everything else related to it. So if you found that at all useful, remember to share, like and subscribe.